And welcome to the Book Corner with yours truly, Denise Harris. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Universal Monsters. Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney Jr., Boris Karloff, Vincent Price, all the goodies. So it's going to be a fun episode, I think. And then we're going to talk a little about some of the newer franchises. You got the Chucky franchise. You have Friday the 13th. And, of course, my favorite, one of my favorites, Halloween. Yes. So let's get started. Again, welcome to the Book Corner. We're going to start the Universal Monsters. And, of course, we all know it's full of the horror, suspense, and science fiction by Universal Studios during the decades of the 1920s through the 50s. And they began with The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Phantom of the Opera. And both of those started out as silent films with Lon Chaney. And then they went forward with the talkies, they call them, with franchises Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, The Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon. And most of the films often starred Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, and Lon Chaney Jr., which of course we know as the Wolfman. So the 1920s, Phantom of the Opera came into being. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And then we go to the 30s, and that's when it really started with the ones that we're familiar with most. Bela Lugosi as Dracula. Boris Karloff in Bride of Frankenstein. And The Mummy starring Karloff. It was followed by a trilogy of films on the tales of Edgar Allan Poe, of course. Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Black Cat, The Raven. And then they teamed with Bela Lugosi with Karloff, and they began releasing sequels, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula's Daughter, and sequels for The Invisible Man. The first mainstream werewolf picture, Werewolf of London, 1935, it's not well known, but if you can get a chance to see it, please see it. It's very cool. And the end of the Universal Monsters first run came in 1936. The monster movies were dropped from production schedule altogether, and they would not come back and reemerge for another 3 years. In the meantime, a theater owner revived Dracula and Frankenstein as a successful double feature, of course, prompting the studio to re-release the original movie, Son of Frankenstein, starring Basil Rathbone, who we all know as Sherlock Holmes, of course, Boris Karloff, and Bela Lugosi. And it was an unexpected resurgence of the Universal Monsters. Very cool. I love the Universal Monsters. They're the start of our horror, and of course we have Night of the Living Dead. George Romero. What a master! What a genius! He gave us our zombies. So these are all. What's the word I want to use? These are all precursors to the monsters we know today. In the 1940s, The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. was released. And he became the studio's leading monster movie actor in the 40s, just as his father had been 20 years earlier. Starring with Karloff and Lugosi. And he supplanted them with a large number of the leading roles that he played. Of course, Lon Chaney Jr. resembled his father, even though he was a little overweight, but, he did. He really resembled his dad. In 1943, the studio created the remake of Phantom of the Opera, and with Claude Rains as the Phantom. Remember Claude Rains, he played the Invisible Man also. So the Frankenstein and Wolfman series continue with Ghost of Frankenstein, in which Lon Chaney Jr. played. And Lugosi reprised his role as Igor. And Frankenstein meets the Wolfman with Lugosi as the Frankenstein monster. And Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. There was Son of Dracula. And we had the Mummy. And then we had the Mummy's Hand, the Mummy's Tomb, the Mummy's Ghost, and the Mummy's Curse. Okay, so we had a whole slew of films with that. With Chaney Jr. as the Mummy in the last 3 films. He had House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula. And of course, one of my favorites, Abbott and Costello, Meet Frankenstein. I love their horror movies. They are hilarious. I love them. They are great. You know, you want some comedy relief, those are the ones to watch. But again, they feature the Universal monsters. So, what a duo that makes. So, I don't know if any of you have ever seen some of these movies. I hope you have seen most of them. It began our love of our monsters. That was the beginning of them. That gave us, Mikey. Yeah, they're all excellent. They are fun. I love the Abbott and Costello movies. They are great. And now they're making a comeback. The Universal Monsters are coming back with a vengeance. And it's called The Dark Universe. And we have The Mummy has been released, and The Dark Universe is here. It's a 21st century take on the Universal Monster era. So, see that. And that came out in July. That was with, I can't think right now. 2019, Bride of Frankenstein's going to be reprised. So there's Invisible Man. Of course, Johnny Depp is going to be playing the Invisible Man. So the date's not set yet. It's to be announced. So that's going to be interesting. The Wolfman, of course, we've seen some remakes. Benicio del Toro was excellent in The Wolfman with Anthony Hopkins. You've done bad things, Lawrence. Gotta love it. That was a good reboot on The Wolfman. That was really good. I enjoyed that. Dracula Untold 2. So the door's still open on this. And one of my favorite movies, and I don't care if you're all haters of it, I loved Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. That movie was excellent. I'm sorry, I loved it. It had some humor. It had the monsters, but it also had, the sad story. So that had everything you could want. But I loved his little sidekick in that. He's giving him all these, newfangled devices to use. If you remember, at the beginning of the movie. That movie was great. I loved Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing. I was hoping they would come out with it too. I hope. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde will be coming back. So all of these movies we love are going to be coming back. I mean, they're timeless. They're timeless. They really are. I don't know what you guys think, but I could watch those all day long. It's excellent. What was your favorite Universal Monster movie? And of course you had Peter Cushing. You had the Hammer films too. You had, they were with, they did a lot of Dracula movies. You gotta love Hammer films. They had, Peter Cushing. Yeah, you and me both, Ike. I was kind of ticked off earlier, but that's okay. I'm not even going to go there. But so you have Hammer Films. Hammer Films was one of the biggest. I mean, even over here. It's a British film company, of course, based in London. It's best known for its series of Gothic Hammer horror films, okay, from the 50s until the 70s. Science fiction, too, and comedies they did. Um, he had The Curse of Frankenstein. They did that one. And that was one of the first one that they came up with. He had Peter Cushing, of course, and Christopher Lee was in these. Yes, welcome back, KBLP. Woohoo! Yeah, we weren't sure if that was going to happen. Thanks, Valerie. Yeah, we weren't sure this was going to happen, so I'm so happy. So Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, were in these movies. They were both in a lot of them. Dracula, of course, we all know Dracula. The Revenge of Frankenstein, Curse of Frankenstein, and all these. I mean, we could go on and on about these movies because